Welcome to the Frostbite Falls. Would you like to learn more about this board?
Yes, I would.
No.
I'm not going to click for you this time. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, this is only like the third time.
You're welcome.
Frostbite Falls is a freezing vertical trek. You'll need to use the lifts to move up and down each level to reach the star spaces.
Indeed.
The ice is unstable in a few spots. Be careful or you may tumble down the falls.
Indeed.
To make it to the top level of the falls, you'll need to parkour your way up this broken scaffolding. It's definitely worth your while to explore up here.
Hint, hint.
Alright, don't slip up.
Thank you very much for the intro. What's up, guys? I'm the Nerdy Ginger. Welcome to our fourth Super Voxel Party board spotlight. Today we're taking on Frostbite Falls, the first ever board editor board, which makes us hella significant. Spencer, what in your right what made you feel crazy enough back when we had finally completed everything with Voxel Party to be like, I want to dip back into this and make this a completely different mode to allow people to make their own boards?
Well, let's see here. It's not only just wanting to make a board editor mode, but it was also the fact that I wanted to recode the whole map from the ground up using functions instead of command blocks to significantly optimize the map and add tons of new quality of life features like 1 to 4 player support. The board editor was just an idea that I wanted to add on top of that because, well, Nintendo won't do it, so somebody's got to. And I feel like it has a lot of potential if it were to actually be done. So that's kind of where the board editor idea spun from.
I know, because you never got super into Super Mario Maker, but I know back when we were in elementary school and middle school, you were always designing your own Super
that's
Mario
the funny
levels.
thing is I always would draw Mario Kart tracks and 2D Mario levels, but for whatever reason I just never was huge into the game itself, and I guess I don't know why.
It's kind of your stance with real Mario Party too, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't play a lot of real Mario Party.
It's all good.
But no, the board editor doesn't exist. I wanted to show that it has potential to be an amazing thing.
I'm so glad that you did it too. And then the whole idea of reprogramming Voxel Party from the ground up, I feel took quite a while. I forget
about
what
a year. I technically started it over the course of a year, but I did most of it in about a 4 months time span.
Of getting
it took us 3 years to reprogram it or program it the first time.
Because at that point we had most of the ideas, and you had basically reprogrammed all of the base mechanics in order so that you could release SVP Maker on its own. And then
you can technically still download if you want to, but all you're gonna get is Frostbite Falls and that 10 mini games.
Up to you if you want to take that down, I guess, but I don't know.
I probably will.
This was also one of the interesting game where you came up with one of the new mechanics too, was the equipment. When did that come into play? Having these
so as
upgrades.
I was making Voxel Party Maker, I had the idea of wanting to create some sort of progression-based system, if you will, on top of Mario Party or on top of Voxel Party, because one of the things I always thought about is our map obviously is 1-to-1 Mario Party in Minecraft, so I wanted to add something to make it a little bit more different, more unique. And so that's kind of where the equipment system came from, and that allows you to kind of gain these permanent upgrades that can never be removed throughout the course of the game. So you have something else to work towards than just stars and moving around and whatnot.
I remember when you put that in, I'm you gotta give the options to turn it off. I don't know if people like it, but now I can't really play without it. It just feels
it's cool.
It's cool, and they're not the boost boots do get kind of OP, but the rest...
Yeah, the boost boots are there's no question about it. Those are the best. By sure.
But it's still a super fun addition, and I'm glad that we have that kind of unique thing with it. Iceboard. Where did we think Iceboard come into play? Just talk about your design philosophy for this.
I guess we didn't have an ice board, so I guess that was just one of the ideas I was throwing around. That's kind of all there is to it.
It's ice.
It's not very deep. To be fair,
ice.
One of our friends previously was making a Christmas theme board, but that never came to fruition, so I don't know if maybe that just subconsciously inspired me to do something similar.
You guys are probably listening to a song right now, and it definitely feels very Christmassy, the theme song for this board. And then with everything else, pretty much the goal was just kind of keeping things relatively basic, just to kind of show off board editor. So I think we'll kind of just get right into this.
This board was made exclusively using the board editor to show off all of its capabilities and what it can do. But since this map was made, or this board was made, we have made a couple of other additions to Board Editor that are not featured here, like for instance the mob fight event, but that'll be featured in other Board Spotlight videos.
Yeah. I think for now we'll start getting right into the events. As we mentioned that we got like all the lifts here. I'm only gonna explain this because it's like a Board Editor thing. It's like this is one of your specified TF events, right? Oh, I should not have done that. I ran out of spaces. No. I guess you can take your turn. I was gonna try to segue that into the first event. There you go, buddy. This is one of the specified TF events that get basically how you get all the way up the board, and then the next one over here is going to be one of our random outcome events.
I point this out in the Board Editor video, but the funny thing is you could technically just stick a command block here and a pressure plate to do the exact same thing. but this way instead, if I come under here, where's the barrel? Where's the barrel? Why can't I see the barrel? There you are. You specified the coordinates of 169, 67, 125. Oh, those are and negatives. Negatives. It's very limiting in that regard because you can only go to like negative, like what? There's 4 coordinates there, so negative 9,999 and positive 9,999 in each coordinate. But
do you need that much space? I hope not. check out the random outcome event. This is also another one that's just super basic. Throw it in.
You cast your fishing rod into the turgid waters. I got an apple.
Hooray! Like this one is just another random outcome event where he basically specifies all the rewards that you can get in here, where you can get 1, 3, 5, 10, or hey, I just showed it in action. Check it out. Or one of the items.
You just see the item plop down.
Yeah, they basically how Board Editor works. He explains it in the Board Editor tutorial, but basically it just breaks the barrel, stacks up all the items, and then picks one there essentially.
That's why it takes a little bit when you land on it, because it has to TP the items into each other until they stack, and then it can generate the outcome once they're stacked.
Exactly. I guess the lore for this, why there's a bunch of apples in here, I assume it's because this item shop guy is, I don't know, just throwing stuff into the water.
I don't know about that. I wasn't that deep into like what I put in here. I just put some basic items and coins.
This is how I rationalized it when I wrote our outline. Like, this must be how it is.
I wasn't that good of a developer and like thought about all the reasoning of why this should be. I just put this here just to have it here.
Next ones I was gonna do all of these waterfall events. Would you want to throw yourself off a pit?
Nah, I want to buy a star from Yeety first.
Yeet. I didn't get to zoom in on his face. You want to get yeeted off a waterfall?
I do want to get yeeted off a waterfall, but one thing you might have noticed about this board is it shares some similarities with Pirate Dream, as both boards are, well, Pirate Dream is way more vertical than this, but this is still a fairly vertical board. It also has its own waterfall event that serves or functions almost the same.
Pretty much, except
it just has more of them, and they only send you down one level instead of all the way to the bottom like Pirate Dream.
So this one here on the bottom left pretty much just kind of takes you back about 6 or so spaces. You can see where he landed right there. If we were to go to this top left one, this one would take you down the waterfall right here. That's much more of a significant backtrack. It's more like losing basically 11 spaces and not really even going on a new path. Like if you were to follow the outline here.
Though, is there is a star directly after that.
That is also true. You can, since I am in, I'm in Spectator right now, so you can actually see where some of the armor stands are, and most of the ones that are on the blue spaces are probably going to be potential star spaces. Obviously, the green ones mark the events. So, and you'll notice that it is possible, based on this, because you land right before this event space, you can roll a 1 on your next turn and get yeeted down the waterfall again.
Yep.
Gotta love that one.
Unlucky. Unless you have Boost Boots Tier 1, and then you're guaranteed to bypass it.
This one on the top right will send you down to this space down here. You'll notice that one will actually take you past the star space, so that can actually mess you up. But it is also somewhat of a shortcut. It like if you use like this item space down here as like a marker, and you fall down this waterfall, it basically takes you 3 spaces to get to that item space, as opposed to it would take you 5 if you were coming up this way. So like, it barely matters other than the fact that you could skip a star from it. And then finally, this last one over here will send you down to this unlucky space over here, which is basically a shortcut to this dual space over here where it takes like 2 spaces to get there instead of 5. So the ones on the right aren't quite as impactful. Although I guess this one on the bottom right actually does make you skip an item space, potentially a lucky space. Yeah. Yeah.
And could get it unlucky.
That's true. So less about the spaces that you lose with this one, and more about the stuff that it makes you skip.
To be fair, I'm just gonna break the fourth wall again, and I say that I just kind of randomly put these down, not thinking about how many spaces you would lose. So
hey, it's my job to analyze this stuff as part of this video, so that's why I'm doing it.
I wasn't a good game developer and planned all that out. I just kind of stuck them there without thinking, and they kind of work.
I mean,
don't do that.
It is my turn.
Yeah, the parkour event is the last event. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll send myself up to the parkour event. This one is a timed event with the reward being a new location, aka
so, when you beat this, you get teleported to a new location, aka like I said, like you were about to say, at the top of the very tall waterfall.
Yeah, and you'll notice that this took me less than half the time to get up here. So if you fall all the way up here, you definitely still have a chance to get up here. It's pretty darn forgiving and easy parkour.
I made it that way on purpose. It was meant to be easy.
So you will.
That version of the parkour, the left side, or no, I think the right side is meant to be slightly harder because you skip the whole path and basically go right to the end of the path on the top.
Yeah, I guess you can demonstrate this kind of while I'm talking about it, but yeah, basically these will take you up to the same relative spot on the board, except on the left it will take you a little bit longer to get to the end, but you do have access to 2 lucky spaces and an item space for some potential rewards. Well, the whole point of coming up here, besides getting all of those lucky spaces potentially, is to go to this guy. He's gonna give you something special. 1 star. Hell yeah. Like this is, yeah, you get the event space, potential lucky spaces, and a free star when you eventually get up here. This one would also be, this one's just a random outcome event, right? Where the only option is getting stars.
Only option is a star.
Hell yeah. So use that for your boards, honestly. Like if you just want, basically random out.
Funny.
1 out of 1 is technically random, I guess. It's technically RNG, and then you just get thrown down here.
Outcome event.
And then you get to just jump down the waterfall, which is very safe, I'm sure. And honestly, that is it for this board. It is very basic, intentionally so, to basically just show off the board editor. And basically you can come in here to explore some of the events, to understand kind of the basic setup. With that, any of the other challenge from this board is mainly just kind of from navigation, but it's also fairly easy to navigate with a lot of different paths. And even though there's a lot of spaces on this board, you can get around it pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, this board was initially meant to be a lot smaller, more similar to Grand Canal in size of like 60-ish or 70 spaces, but I think it ended up being closer to like 90 to 100.
I mean,
I did add a bunch of those junctions all over to help manage that, so that's partially why there's a lot of spaces, but it also doesn't feel like it because you can move easily.
We share the same design philosophy where we kind of just like having a lot of paths. It's the same thing with like my Mind Metal, and
I like options. I don't want to be stuck on a linear path for 20 spaces that all players are always going to go down the same 20 spaces.
AKA Grand Canal.
It's not fun.
So we'll end that video here. In the next episode, we'll start getting to some more complicated boards. We're going to get into Koopa's Tycoon Town, which that was a fun one to program. And then the rest of the boards will start getting much more complex mechanics. We will see you guys in the next one. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. We haven't seen too many comments from you guys lately. Let us know what some of your favorite boards that you've been playing are.
And let us know some of the boards you're working on.
That too. This is Board Editor after all. See you guys. Peace out.